Hi, it's Claire, the Fairy Whisperer. In this sparkly whispering with Diana Henderson, learn about flower fairies and how to connect with them, tree spirits, and how we can work in partnership with fairies and the landscape, and lots more. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Claire Casey, Fairy Whisperer, and I'm here today to interview the lovely Diana Henderson, who's going to introduce herself and tell us about her work, what she does. And I'm going to ask her some questions about her connection with fairies and nature and other wonderful things. So, Diana, welcome. Would you like to just briefly
Thank you
introduce
so
yourself?
much.
Yeah, lovely to have you here. So, can you just give us a little bit of background about you, who you are, what you do?
Certainly. I have been into the nature spirits and the angels since I was a little girl. I actually used to, when I was a child, I used to sing with them. That was my favorite thing. I would, I had a particular fairy friend that lived in the camellia bush. My grandmother was next door, and I used to go and sing to the camellia bush fairy, and we would sing together these little lovely songs that we made up. And so that was kind of my introduction to the fairies when I was a little girl. And for a long time, I kind of hid from the world and hid who I was and the fact that I had certain gifts. But then as I got older, I started to really understand that I needed to let people know. So I have a group for angels. It's called Gathering of Angels on Facebook. And it started from a group that I actually do as a meetup every single month and have been since December of 2005. I also founded the Order of Archangel Michael in 2002. And I've been working with the angels and the nature spirits for a long time. I really love them so much. I think my strongest connection in terms of the nature spirits is to the tree spirits. And I actually wrote a novel called Grandfather Poplar, and it tells the story of a girl who communicates with trees and her spirit guides and is able to have a deeper connection to nature as a result of that.
Ah, wonderful. And so is this the tree that you know about in real life that you had a connection with? Or is it
Well, yes and no. I've had many connections with trees. And in fact, where we live now, there's a beautiful poplar that I'm very connected to. Yellow poplars are the trees that have, in the spring, the late spring, they get flowers that actually look like tulips, like yellow tulips, and they're called tulip trees. That's another name for them. But when I was growing up, I had tree friends that these massive old oak trees. And they're the ones I really got connected to initially. So Grandfather Poplar is sort of, well, it's in kinship with many trees I have known through my life. And his character is also based a little bit on my father and a little bit on my grandfather.
oh, how lovely. So, oh, that sounds like a really amazing book. And where can we find your book, Diana? If we want.
Oh, well, the book is available on Amazon.
Mhm.
It's an ebook and also a tangible book, so either way. And yeah, I hope that anyone interested in loving trees will give it a try.
And do you ever see fairies around trees, or is it more the tree spirit that you connect with,
Well,
or both?
I would say for me, I tend to have a connection to the flower fairies more than I have seen some around trees, but I see them more around flowers. So
Mm.
also flowering trees. But that's where the fairy realm really gets me. You know, when the flowers come out in the spring, I have such a connection to them and to the little fairies that are there. And they're the ones that oftentimes will sing to me. But I have also a favorite forest, and the favorite forest I go to is it's got lots of fairies in that forest. And of course, there are lots of little flowers, many different types of wildflowers that grow in the forest. But even amongst the trees in that particular forest, it's just rich with them. And they actually have their own name for the forest that I like to go to the most. And they call it Tierra. And what it means is where the land meets the water. And Tierra forest it's a place where there's a stream and a wood that come right together. So that's why they call it that, I suppose.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'd love to see that written down. And I found, as you might have found yourself, that fairies do have other names for the places that we go to, that we connect with. So yeah, they have their own, because that's something that I've heard when I've been in nature as well, that this place is actually called whatever it is, you know. So yeah, it's interesting you've had that experience as well. And I'd also like to know, for people that maybe have never experienced fairies, you know, people are always interested in how we see what they look like, and whether they look different to each other. You know, there's different types of fairies. So how would you describe the flower fairies that you see, and how do you experience them? Mm.
Well, my experience of them is they're really small. The way I see them is they're very small, and they often have an energy color emanation that they are just like this little bright light emanating a specific color. And the color usually, although not always, it connects to the color of the flower. So if the flower is yellow, oftentimes their energy is also yellow. So that's how I sense anyway. What I would say about connecting with them is that whenever you're in nature, if you sing, it draws them. If you say rhymes, that tends to draw them. And they love little rhyming songs, so I sing to them a lot, or I read them poetry, or I make up a poem on the spot, you know, about what their flower is, and that oftentimes will draw them to reveal themselves more. But I usually see them in my mind's eye, although I've oftentimes caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye. You know, many times you'll just see like a light flash out of the corner of your eye, like something zoom past, and it's just a little sparkle zooming past. And so sometimes I'll see them like little sparkles in the air, but for the most part, I tend to see them more fully if I'm closing my eyes and going inside and then making that connection. One of the things that's really good to do, I think, is to breathe deeply and kind of with an intention of breathing with the earth, with an intention of connecting to the flower and or the tree, and just loving that being that is that life form. And when you send out that shower of love, it draws the fairies to you. It draws the nature spirits because they feel the love. And I see that all the time in your videos that you do on fairy whispering, is just you're emanating this love and this frequency of love and joy. It draws them to you. And that's what you're so good at.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think that, yeah, it is really important to have that, as you say, to feel that connection with the place, and to often go and visit the place as if you're caring for it. I mean, even just walking in a place often and noticing, really noticing the nature around you. And that's part of loving it, isn't it? Because then you feel the resonance, this resonance with the place.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it's interesting.
One of the things that, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. One of the things I want to mention is when you go into a forest, if you show reverence, you know, as you're going in, one of the things I have done is, especially if it's the first time you're going there, just to get to know that forest and the spirit of that forest, which to me is called the Deva. And what I'll do is I'll pay homage to the Deva before I enter the forest. I'll stand at the entrance to the forest and I will state my intention, and I will send out love and ask to enter the forest, and that I will be doing so with a heart filled with love and with a nature filled with peace. And when I do that, oftentimes when you go into the forest, you will get great wonders if you do that first.
Yes, I agree. I mean, can you share an example of a blessing that you might give or that you do?
Sure. Usually it's different for me every time because I tune into the energy that's present there. And when I tune into the energy, that gives me the words. So I don't always have a kind of a set blessing that I would use, but I just tune in. So I'm going to just take a moment because I've got a forest right outside. I'm going to take a moment and just tune into the energy of our little forest here and say a blessing, so that way you'll have an example.
Okay, that'd be really lovely.
I call upon the Deva of the forest, the wondrous land spirits, the beauty of the tree spirits and the nature spirits and the fairies. I call on you with love in my heart, and I extend to you from my heart center to the center of your own light, all the love that dwells within me. And at this time, I ask your permission to enter into your wondrous climate of forest grace, and know that I will come with love. And every footfall that I make, I offer that love. Every moment of my presence within your boundaries, I offer that grace. Thank you. So it is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That was just beautiful. I really felt that in my heart. Yeah.
Well, you can tell how much I love the forest. That is my favorite place in the world. If you ask me what place I would choose to go above all other places, the ocean is beautiful. Every place has its own beauty. The desert is lovely. but for me, it is always going to be the forest. I was driving along one day near the favorite forest of mine in a place called Perry, North Carolina. And as I drove along, I noticed on the left side of the road, they were putting in pipes and they had dug up the ditch. It was just, the entire area was terribly disturbed. And I got this strong sense, and I could hear the gnomes were in distress. So I called on all the nature spirits and the angels and the divine, and I called on Grandmother Earth and asked for assistance to be given them, because the truth is I couldn't stop anyone from digging up the road. That's our state doing that. So I could only send them some healing energy and ask for all the other helpers to come and assist them. So that's what I did. And they were able to get calmer after that. They were able to receive the energy, and it helped them to just kind of let go. I told them once the pipes got put back in that they would regrow the grass that was on the hill, and it would go back to being as it had been. And in fact, that is what happened. So it's just at the moment they were in deep distress, and I just knew that I needed to do something to help them. So even if it's just calling on the devas, calling on the other nature spirits, calling on whatever you resonate with to help is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. In my experience as well, that especially if there's a place that you're connected with, like you are with your forest, then it's almost like we have that responsibility. We've made that agreement to.
We definitely do. And I have to say about that particular area, the deva there of those woods is so powerful. She emits a very strong energy. And even if you're driving in your car through on that tree-lined street, you feel that energy. My husband and I call it the zone. It's a lot of times when you go through there, you forget where you are. You kind of like, if you may be driving through the area and you know perfectly well where you are, but you tune into that energy and you suddenly start saying, where am I? And that is her energy. She actually can muddle people's minds a little bit. Like I said, she's very powerful, but usually, it's just a very serene place to drive, especially if you stop and then go into the forest.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how places have this energy about them. And yeah, on Dartmoor, near where I live, we call it being fairy led. So it's where, like you say, you almost forget where you're going and you can easily get lost.
Well, it's lost in a good way, though. It's you just kind of lose the part of your mind that is caught up in the mundane world. And gain the part of your mind that is free and can connect to nature and connect to the nature spirit. So that's really quite fun.
Yeah,
that's the kind of lost I like to be.
Good lost, like you say. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. So how do you think people lose their ability to see fairies or feel them or experience them over time? Because children are very receptive, aren't they? And then a lot of us lose that connection.
Well, I think it's the clouding of the mind that happens when we get too caught up in what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do. I know there was a period in my childhood that was so wondrous because I had that connection and I was in nature all the time. And then as I grew and I would start to become more caught up in what my grades were and keeping up with the appearance I was supposed to be having in the world. And you just get drawn into, let's call it, the real unreal world. Because the real world to me is the world of the nature spirits, the fairies, the beautiful beings of the earth and the angels and all of that. That's more real to me. But the world of the mind, I think. And the mind takes over and the ego gets caught up in the trappings of our everyday lives. And we grow out of being a part of the magic and recognizing that there is this wonderful mystery called life that we live in all the time. And it's so much more real than anything that the ego has to offer and anything that the mind gets caught up in this mundane world. So I think some people never grow out of it because I suspect your children will remain connected to that part of themselves and to nature because you are, because you give them that example and because you let them explore who they are. And if parents can do that, they can help children retain that sense of wonder and that sense of innocence. I mean, we all have things that happen in our lives, and, we can't shift those. But if we can get back in touch with that inner child, the inner child still has that capacity. We just have to tap into it. We have to find ways to experience our joy, ways to experience our love of nature, and just to tap into the flow of the planet and the mystery of what is beyond the visible world. And when we do that, we become much, much, much more capable of recognizing those things in nature.
That's so wonderfully expressed. That's exactly how I feel. And I'm sure many people that will be watching this will relate to that if they're connected with nature, because it is all about, well, for me, it's about the heart connection. And like you say, moving out of this and into the heart and dropping into the heart. So what would be a top tip from you about, a simple thing that people can do to connect with nature and so that they can experience more of this wonder for themselves?
Well, I think for me, one of the easiest things to connect to is a tree spirit. So I would say go into the forest and find a tree that you feel drawn to and ask that tree's permission to make a deep, profound connection. And then sit down by the tree or hug the tree, whichever is more comfortable for you, and do some nice, deep, slow breathing. And imagine you are breathing in concert with the earth so that her breath, her life force becomes one with you. Imagine yourself sinking into the consciousness of that tree, with the tree's permission, of course, and feel yourself as though you were the tree.
as though your arms were the limbs stretching up towards the sunlight, as though your root chakra and the base of your spine and the soles of your feet were making that connection of the roots down into the earth below. And just ask for the tree to give you some wisdom. To me, that's one of the easiest ways to connect with nature and to be able to get something back and give something in return. And what you give in return is your love. One of the things that connects us to any of the nature spirits is that love and that sense of joy and wonder. And when we express our love and we see the beauty of nature, they know, they sense it, they feel it. It's the most welcome, nourishing energy we can give them, is to expand from our heart space to their beautiful light, that love that is unique to us. And so when we do that and we have a deep appreciation and gratitude, they will be much more likely to make that connection to us. And once you've connected to a tree spirit, try the same thing with a grouping of flowers or with a particular flower. Just focus on that flower. Focus on it with all your love. Imagine your heart sending out rays of sunlight in the form of your love and appreciation and joy, surrounding that flower with a beautiful energy from your heart, because every single flower has its own fairy. And that fairy will feel that energy and may just make itself known to you. And that to me is one of the best things to do.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I've experienced that myself last year with daisies. For some reason, daisies became really prominent in my life, from the daisies in my garden to, the oxeye daisies that are the bigger daisies. I was seeing them everywhere last year. So they obviously had, a message for me, and it was like this ongoing dialogue we had across the year. So once, it's very true what you say, once you connect with a flower, the fairies of those flowers will step forward, they will give their love back.
Oh, definitely. And another thing though is, I know I love you playing the harp for them.
Yes.
They love music. So if you can sing to them. If, they love any kind of musical sound, that's something that is a profound way to connect, I think. As I said earlier, I connected with them as a child because we sang together and I could hear them singing with me. And I don't know who was making up the song, whether it was part me and part them, but we made up these wonderful little ditties together. I still do that. I still do that now. It's fun, and I just feel inspired by nature. And anytime you feel inspired, chances are there are nature spirits nearby. Anytime you feel creative, that's a part of their realm. And that's a way to connect with them too. So I think it's wonderful to do that as well.
Oh, that's amazing, Diana. It's just so, I feel uplifted. I feel that energy just talking about it. That's the amazing thing, isn't it? About talking about these things, about talking about the fairies, nature realm. We go into that vibration of love, and it's almost like we draw them close to us.
Oh, I feel them right now.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you talk about them, they know, they have a sense for it. When you speak of them lovingly, when you speak of them in a way that is expressing how much you appreciate them and love them, and how beautiful they are, they always tune into that. They feel that frequency and zoom. They come right to you.
Yeah, beautiful. So I'd like to just end by saying thank you for joining us and just telling us anything else about more about what you offer and your mission, Diana. I know you said a little bit at the beginning, but is there anything else that you want to share at the moment?
Well, let me think. You're welcome to join my group. There are 2 different groups on Facebook. If you love angels, mine is called Gathering of Angels, and there are 2 groups by the same name, but you'll see my name associated with it if you're interested in joining. And I still do occasional readings, mostly numerology and angel cards. I do art, as does Claire, and I have one of her beautiful art pieces in the room with me right now. I always get inspiration from that piece. But yes, and so I do some art, which is on my website, sacredheartsoulhealing.com. And of course, I have a website for Grandfather Poplar called grandfatherpoplar.com. And I mostly work doing editing right now. That's kind of my primary go-to at the moment. But I'm writing more novels, and those are in the works. And I've written a book, which I still have to have edited, and it's going to be a lot of work. But I've written a book that shares knowledge about working with crystals and healing stones.
Wow.
I did actually 72 pieces of art for that book.
Wow.
It's a depiction that was given to me by the deva of each of the stones. And I also have a lot of exercises on how to get in touch with the stone and with the nature spirit of the stone or the crystal. So those are some things that are coming up for me. I've got a whole series going to be coming out of novels on Archangel Michael and Archangel Metatron. And so I'm busy.
Wow. That sounds
Life is
amazing.
good. It's fun.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Diana. That's just fabulous. I've learnt so much. It's really lovely to speak to other people that are connected to nature and the nature spirit, fairy realm, and just to have that shared connection, isn't it? Really.
Well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, because the Fairy Whispering group means so much to me. And to be able to see your post in there and see your bright energy shining out from your live videos, and just to be able to get that strong connection to the nature spirits and have a kinship with others who feel the same way. It's just so meaningful. So I'm really grateful for that group and for you and all you do.
Thank you, Diana. Oh, that means so much. That means so much. So encouraging. And I love what I do. I love what you do. And to be grateful